Yesterday I did this video on why is Intel up 16% in the last week, and I did an analysis of their stock over the past decade and then their projections for a turnaround over the next 5 years. And I told you at the end of that video I was going to dig in deeper and determine whether or not I wanted to put Intel in my Bus 13 portfolio. My Bus 13 portfolio is going to end up being around 60 to 70% of my portfolio as I go all in on artificial intelligence in those companies that are going to benefit most from artificial intelligence. I started out with 13 companies. I now have 18 companies in the portfolio, and I was asking the question, should I put Intel in? And to be very honest, at the end of yesterday's video, the answer was no, I will not. It is a mismanaged company, and it's probably going to continue to be a mismanaged company. And then as I spent the next day researching, I realized the whole thing changed. What changed? Basically, what changed was China and Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping basically threatened the United States, and the United States woke up and said, we've got to change. We have to bring, for our national security, we need to bring semiconductor development into the United States and get it out of Taiwan. That's what changed, and that's what I've discovered, and I want to share with you so that you can give me feedback. Do you think I should put Intel in my Bus 13 portfolio? Wait a second. This is not financial advice. This is Kerry's education, his use of his past experience, and then his due diligence into what is Intel all about. We'll get right to that after I share this is not financial advice.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
Okay, the first thing I did was I went to Seeking Alpha, and I read an article, and this is the article I read, and I'll put a link to it in the description so that you can read it. And what it did was it told me about what Intel is saying they're going to do and what they've done in the past and how they've gone through 3 CEOs, and basically the preceding two were basically made the decision we cannot compete with China and Taiwan on making conductors. NVIDIA is having their semiconductors, their GPUs, made by Taiwan Semiconductor, and we can't compete with them. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our stockholders a 3% dividend, and then for the last 10 years, each year they repurchase stock, thus increasing the value of the stock of their stockholders held by their executives, their employees, and their investors. And they rewarded them by basically degrading the stock, making fewer shares, even though they weren't making any money. And it worked out that everybody that was in the game was happy with it. And then Xi Jinping basically said, we're going to bury you, we're going to take over Taiwan, and we're going to blackmail you so that you can't have the semiconductors that you're going to need to take care of artificial intelligence and general machine learning in the coming years. And our government passed a thing called the CHIP Act. And we'll get into that in detail. But I want to, first of all, then show you the history of Intel and show you this chart. Look at the chart. You can see the past decade. Its low price was in August of 2013 at $16.45. And they pushed the stock up in price again through appealing to the dividend users, and secondly, by buying stock by stock buybacks. And it got up to a high of $63.47 in April of 2021. Today, it's selling for $36.37, up from $25.11 in October of 2022. So it's not yet up to its $63. It's at $36. So what has happened then is, as a result of the federal government passing the CHIP Act, in 2022, they have committed $280 billion over the next 10 years to bring the manufacturing of chips, of semiconductors, back into the United States. They're putting $50 billion immediately within the next 5 years. They're allocating $11 billion for research and development, $39 billion for domestic production. This basically, I think, is going to go to the states to help offer incentives for building in the states, and then $75 billion in loan guarantees. So the financial community feels good lending to anybody who wants to build semiconductor plants in the United States. So who stepped up to invest? Well, the first people who stepped up was Intel. And Intel is basically made a commitment to build in Ohio. They have committed $100 million for education in the state of Ohio, so that they have the people that they need to run the plants that they're building. They have bought over 1,000 acres of land, and they have committed to build around 6 plants over the next decade. They have committed $100 billion, this is Intel, over the next 10 years, $20 billion of it immediately on this 1,000 acres. They right now have 2 plants under construction and believe they'll have them totally up and running by 2025. And that goes back to the projections that I told you about yesterday, that their stock price was going to go substantially up, that their income was going to go up, and their revenues were going up. And I yesterday felt this was all, pipe dreams, but now I see why this is probably going to happen. Now, also in Ohio, right down this is near Columbus, Ohio, right down the street, it's, as I understand it, Google is building a data farm. Now, I didn't know this, but Meta has a data farm in the Columbus area, and so does Amazon Web Services. Other companies that have committed to build facilities around the Intel plant are Air Products, Applied Materials, Lam Research, and Ultra Clean Technology. So this looks to be a full-blown effort to not only for Intel to build this huge facility. They say they will eventually have 6 plants there. They're under construction on 2 of them right now. But these other companies are coming in, it appears to be in a support role. Now, another thing I found on another Seeking Alpha article is they are getting involved with a company named ARM. So I looked into what is ARM. Well, ARM is a architect, the company that designs the chips. They are basically in the CPU market. NVIDIA is the leader in the gaming and thus the GPU market. Well, ARM is developing a relation or a ability to produce or design GPU chips as well. NVIDIA is right now, the leader in the GPU chips, and their chips are made by Taiwan Semiconductor. Now, also, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Taiwan in just a second. Intel is entering into an agreement with SoFi Bank, who owns ARM, to finance their IPO. SoFi Bank is creating an IPO on ARM before the end of this year, and Intel has said we will be one of the primary investors in that IPO. In other words, they're creating a relationship with ARM so that they can design the GPU chips that Intel wants to manufacture in Ohio and Arizona. Okay, that's the next part of it. Arizona, they are also building a plant in Arizona, committed $20 billion to build 2 plants in Arizona. Now, also in Arizona, Taiwan Semiconductor has said, wait a second, we recognize that NVIDIA is dependent upon us, and we recognize that Xi Jinping in China may invade us and jeopardize our relationship with NVIDIA, so we're going to build a plant in Arizona as well. And I'm quite sure that the U.S. government's commitment of, what did I tell you their commitment was? $280 billion over the next year, is some of that is going in the direction of Taiwan Semiconductor. So, where does that leave me? That leaves me looking at the company that I looked at as a farce yesterday after digging in. And that's why on my thumbnail, I'm standing there with a hammer and a saw. And that is because I'm doing the work, okay? I'm doing the research to find out, do I want Intel in my Bus 13, which is now going to be 19 stocks, because I'm going to share with you, yes, on Monday morning, that's probably this morning, I'm buying Intel stock because I think they have a good chance. This is a total reversal from what I thought yesterday. I think they have a good chance to make the projection that they proposed they would reach by 2025. And I want Intel on my bus. Okay? Now, if you like this kind of research, I'm kind of getting off on it. I'm enjoying, I guess I'm really enjoyed that I changed my mind. Because I dug deeper, I understood, and what I realize is I know more about what's going to happen with Intel and why it's going to happen than 99% of the rest of the people in the world. It's me and a few other analysts who have dug into this and said, Intel's a player. Because, and why? Because our national security depends upon it, because our electric vehicles depend upon it, because our medicine cure rather than medicine care depends upon it. Intel is the only U.S. chip manufacturer that's stepping up and saying, we'll carry the load. We'll be your primary player in the saving our country from the potential demise and dominance of China and Xi Jinping. Okay? That's what I've learned over the last 24 hours. I told you yesterday I was going to a graduation party for my brother's granddaughter in Ohio, and I'll be darned if I was sitting there and the guy said to me, a brother-in-law of Bill said to me, I live in the Columbus, Ohio area. I moved my chair and sat next to him, and I said, do you know anything about Intel's building? Oh my God, you wouldn't believe what's happening over there. And Google's building a factory right next to him. Well, actually, that's a data farm, but it opened my eyes. And it's funny how these things all fall together when you decide, I'm going to find out what's going on, and you just start asking some questions. I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm a retired financial advisor. I'm having the time of my life building my Bus 13 portfolio. And if you want to get on the bus, follow the link to our Patreon, and I'll tell you the the 18, no, it's now 19 stocks that are in my bus portfolio that is producing me, what is it now? Annual rate of return thus far this year. Now, Intel will bring it down a little, but it was at 79%. That was our annual rate of return year to date. Get on the bus. I'll talk to you more about this in the future.